Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to this week's episode. If you are new here, we are right in the middle of our 10-week stress reduction challenge for women physicians. This is week 6. We started this challenge in late October, on October 28th. So after you are done listening to this episode, go ahead and go back and get caught up. There's plenty here for you. But for the rest of 2025, each week, we are working on small tweaks that we can make to help reduce our stress as physicians and help to improve our health so that we are moving into 2026 in a better place from where we started. I don't know about you, it's been a crazy year in my house and in the world. And I looked at the rest of the year and thought, yeah, there's some things that I want to fix, I want to improve before we get to 2026. Even though I am fully 100% aware that it is just a day, it is just a number, but we can all get caught up in that energy. So, I'm a human too. So let's think about why, though, we as physicians should think about reducing stress in the way that I'm going to talk about today. So today, thankfully, we are talking about one of my favorite stress reducers, which is berries. Now, you heard me right. We're going to be talking about berries. Why on earth would a physician coach who helps women physicians to reduce burnout be talking about berries? Again, we are in the middle of a stress reduction challenge, and we are thinking very holistically about how to reduce stress in our bodies. Some of that is going to be cognitive, emotional stress that we feel. Some of it is going to be the very real internal stressors that we face. Some of that is a downstream effect of the chronic stress that we experience. Some of it is a very direct effect of the way that we ignore our bodies. We have been conditioned to put everything that we have into other people and to leave very little for ourselves. That often leaves us with poor diet, poor sleep, poor physical activity habits that have a very real impact. You know, and I know that we can get away with that for a long period of time, but eventually those stressors really start to add up. This challenge is all about micro steps that we can take to help reduce stress. Again, sort of the cognitive emotional stress that we think about, but also the oxidative stress that goes on in our bodies so that we can be happier and healthier. So are berries going to help you to, reduce the anger that you feel when 12 messages dump into your epic inbox? No, but taking better care of ourselves helps to improve our cognitive bandwidth, helps us to, be better rested so we're prepared to manage the stressors, helps us to stop resenting feeling like we cannot take care of ourselves. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to talk about. Let's dive in. So, anti-inflammatory benefits. Anti-inflammatory, when it comes to thinking about our nutrition, is a kind of non-scientific marketing term. That is, when you Google search anti-inflammatory diets, you will see a wide variety of different diets that are touted as being anti-inflammatory because there is no one legal definition. And that matters because it means that people can just pop up and say like, oh, this is anti-inflammatory and this is anti-inflammatory over here. The same way that people can use, the word natural or bioidentical. They don't have a legal definition. And yet there are sometimes quantifiable things that we can look at to help us interpret the sort of relative anti-inflammatoriness of, a nutrition item, a food. And so when we're thinking about this, the reason why this matters, when we look at our nutrition and we see the impact of different foods in terms of inflammation in the body or anti-inflammation in the body, it can be quantified. And I don't think that it's really necessary for us to do a deep dive on that topic, but I want to highlight one particular sort of study that was looking at an anti-inflammatory scale when it comes to our fruit. So apples and bananas are cited as the most commonly consumed fruits in our country. And they have a relative, I believe it's called the FRAC scale, relative numbers of 40 and 60 for apples and bananas. Around the world, it's listed as mangoes being one of the most commonly consumed fruit in multiple parts of the globe. And that number scale was 110. When we look, however, at berries, even the lowest berry, which in this study was strawberries, was 380, with other berries like blueberries and blackberries going into the 600s and 700s. So you can see there is quite a different degree of anti-inflammatory compounds in berries, and that is why we're focusing on them. They also happen to be my favorite fruits, pretty much. So, a little selfish there. But if we are thinking, how can I have the most impact on changing my nutrition to improve my health and well-being? Berries are such an easy and delicious place to go that it just seems like a no-brainer. If you joined me, from the beginning in this challenge, you know that we talked about incorporating more greens into our diet. And that absolutely is an important intervention as well for all the reasons that we talked about. But when we are incorporating berries, we are getting access to a different variety of benefits in terms of reducing inflammation in the body. And there are studies that show just about improvement in just about every organ system in the body. Reducing oxidative stress, and that can be oxidative stress that comes from some other foods that we eat, most notably animal products, but also pollutants in the environment, and the way that berries are able to counteract that and the impact that has on our cellular health. Again, if you have been with me for this challenge from the beginning, you know that we've focused specifically on the health of our telomeres, which are the end caps of our DNA within our cells that help to determine not only our lifespan, but also our health span. So everything that we can do to help improve the function of telomerase and help to protect those telomeres has a very real impact on the health and well-being of our bodies, not only in terms of the sort of cellular organ-based health, but also on, major real patient-oriented outcomes, if you will. So those things are important. And, if you are a normal human who cares about having a healthy metabolism, who cares about being well balanced in your body, berries also have incredible benefits in terms of being very high in fiber. Being very high in fiber helps to reduce colon cancer risk. It helps to reduce the risk for diabetes and other insulin resistant states. It helps to keep our bodies well balanced. If we really dive in, we can see that regular intake of berries, even as little as a half cup to a cup of blueberries per day, which isn't that hard to achieve, can help to reduce our LDL. It can help to improve endothelial function, which makes an impact for our heart, our kidneys, our brain. Powdered strawberries have been studied to have anti-inflammatory effects that help to prevent joint inflammation. And there was even a study that showed reduced need for joint replacement surgeries when powdered strawberries was the intervention. How easy is that? So you can see why we're talking about this. It makes a difference. I don't care what part of the body you specialize in. I don't care what part of the body you focus on. Incorporating more berries is just going to be something that we can do for ourselves, something we could certainly recommend to our patients. You decide what you're going to do there. But this is an easy, delicious, simple thing to do that can help to make a real difference. Again, is it going to make you love your inbox? No. But might it help you to be a little bit less pissy about your inbox? Yeah, it might. So let's talk about what I want you to do this week. What I want you to do this week is I want you to find some way to increase your berry intake. I want us to aim for daily, but you don't have to start there. If you currently consume 0 berries, figure out how can I do that? For myself, in the summer, if I'm not picking berries, we do have raspberry and blueberry plants at my house. If I'm not picking those berries and eating those, I'm sure stocking up on them. I happen to live in the Pacific Northwest. We have lots and lots and lots of beautiful berry bushes around us all the time. They just don't grow in the winter. Now, I happen to be a person who doesn't like to eat a lot of imported fruit, although there's kind of a catch-22 here. In the fall and the winter, when I don't have access to fresh berries, I tend to get them frozen. Ironically, those are also transported often from other parts of the world. And yet the environmental impact seems to be less. I don't know the actual answer to that, and I'm not going to Google it because maybe I don't want to know. That is the battle I have chosen to pick. But finding a way to incorporate more berries, fresh and frozen berries are easy ways to go. If you are a Trader Joe's aficionado, you know that they sell pretty low-cost bags of freeze-dried berries. Why freeze-dried? When you are buying freeze-dried berries, that is essentially powdered berries, and powdered berries are often what are used in many of the studies that I've mentioned that are looking at improvements in cognitive function, endothelial function, and a variety of other things. Sometimes those are powdered berries that are included in capsules. Sometimes it's powders that are mixed with water and made into sort of a tea. There's probably a variety of different ways that they do that. But the powdered berries don't have anything added to them. So that is different from the sugary, dried berries that are more chewy like a raisin. In order to get reasonable quantities of those, you typically have to consume a lot of sugar, which can counteract some of the benefits of what we're talking here. So if we are going to pick a, kind of better, best version, I'd say best tends to be our fresh and frozen varieties. Second best is probably our powdered varieties. You decide what is easy and doable for you, but I want you to think very broadly here. We've got studies that show sort of the most benefit from our darkest sort of black and purple and blue berries, right? So think blackberries and blueberries, but also dark grapes, purple and red grapes. All of those have very potent anthocyanins, but we also find those in other purple and blue fruits and vegetables. So purple cabbage, hibiscus, right? There are a number of other ways to get it. I don't care, my friends, which way you get it. I want you to think, I'm going to incorporate more purple and blue fruits and vegetables into my diet. I happen to like berries. To me, that's the easiest to obtain. It's naturally a part of my breakfast just about every day of the week. And, I love knowing that it is doing my body good. You figure out for you, how can I incorporate more? And again, we're going to think really broadly. If you are someone who already eats dried fruit, then I want you to, focus on making some of those dried fruits to be berries and cherries, right? Even if it's the chewy, sticky kind that has sugar added, anything is better than nothing. And let's get over the idea that we have to be perfect on this. What can you do to increase your berry intake? Now, I mentioned hibiscus. There are other studies that show powdered blueberry tea, right? Just to say that we can incorporate it in to hot water and drink it. If you don't have time, if you're like, I'm too busy, you can figure out a way to get these in powdered forms and incorporate them into your life that way. There are studies that show that hibiscus tea and blueberry tea, both of these can help to reduce very specific things. So the hibiscus tea has been shown to lower LDL levels as well as high blood pressure. And sometimes, there are some studies that show that that effect is on par with some of our routine antihypertensive treatments. That's a pretty easy intervention. Now, Do we often recommend that to our patients? I would say most of us probably don't. A, because we're not super aware of those studies. B, because there's a perception that it's harder to be consistent. And yet, if you offered to somebody, here's the choice. We can prescribe this pill, or you can commit to doing this every day. Now, in the real world, my friends, you know that your patients are not always taking their medications daily, and giving them options, having discussion can be incredibly helpful. I don't think we're about to overhaul the United States healthcare system and go all in on this direction, but we can sometimes start to incorporate some of these practices, some of these food is medicine, medicine is food ideas to better serve the needs of our patients. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation. I want us today to be thinking about our own selves. If you have been struggling with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, prediabetes or diabetes, weight gain, your brain feels crazy, right? These are areas that can be helped, and I want you to think about this intervention of incorporating berries into your diet more regularly as something that you are actively doing, not just a good idea, but something that you are actively choosing to do to improve your health. I've mentioned this before. I take care of a lot of physicians in my practice, and my friends, we are so human in the very real struggles we have, just like every other human in taking care of ourselves. Now, some of us are just, I don't know, we're just excellent at it. We run, we always eat healthy, like we never look twice at, the donuts in the break room. And there's the rest of us who have, been used to working long hours and relying on sugar or coffee or, whatever junk is available. And we are so unused to taking good care of ourselves. This is where we're making a change. We are making an intentional change to incorporate more healthy things on purpose into our lives in a regular, easy to follow way, right? Just eat more berries. Now, I have other good news for you, which is that coffee is a berry. Now, that's a shock to people, but coffee plants are a relative of cherry plants, and it is the pit of the coffee cherry that is the thing that gets roasted and ground up. And coffee is actually a very potent anti-inflammatory beverage. Now, we ruin it by adding milk and sugar. When we add dairy specifically to any of these antioxidant-rich foods, that includes coffee, includes tea actually as well, even though tea is a different beet. Tea is not a berry or a cherry. But also dairy with berries. We do blunt the antioxidant effects because of probably casein in the milk products, which means that if you are taking milk in your coffee, if you're taking yogurt with your berries, you are not getting the full benefits. Now, again, if we are thinking on the scale of perfectionism and yogurt is the way that you're going to eat your berries, then my friends, I want you to keep doing that. But if we are thinking, what is the way that I can do the most good? Say, try separating your milk products into a different meal from your berries so that you get the most potent benefits. Now, again, that's a little bit down the rabbit hole, but we're just trying to help our bodies, right? And I want you to get the most benefit out of these interventions that you're doing. So incorporate more berries. They can be fresh. They can be frozen. They can be powdered and dried. They can be thrown into a smoothie. It can be in a tea form, including some things that you wouldn't think about, like hibiscus tea. Hibiscus tea can lower your blood pressure and lower your cholesterol. You can think about incorporating more purple and blue vegetables like purple cabbage, right? We can think about a broad array. I know that's not a berry, but it's fine. If you don't eat berries, that's an easy way to go. So let's wrap this up and, really kind of be thinking about how am I going to do this and why? Your health matters. Now, again, if you've been following along in the challenge, you know that we have done a variety of different activities to try and help reduce our stress. We've incorporated yoga nidra, which is also called non-sleep deep rest, in order to get deeper relaxation and help to reduce, anxiety, tension, literal sort of tightness in our bodies. And that has very potent effects. We have incorporated more greens into our daily diet in order to help protect our immune function and have all the anti-inflammatory benefits that those bring. We have been practicing deep breathing, right? Slowing down and really tapping into the stress reduction practices there. We have worked on our sleep, trying to get more deep sleep, right? And seeing what that gives to us. Last week, we focused on laughter. How can we incorporate more laughter and play? Because again, there are widespread studies that show benefits for just about every part of our body. And this week, my friends, it is berries. So with that, go drink some coffee, drink it black. Incorporate more berries and cherries into your day. Think about, where am I going to put them? Pull out your Instacart app, right? And just, throw some frozen berries in there, or do whatever you want to do to help do this. But let's do this. Let's keep doing the work of taking better care of ourselves. When we take good care of ourselves, we not only protect our body, but we also help to improve our brain, our cognitive and emotional health. It is all worth it. My friends, that is what I have for you this week. Go have some fun. Go incorporate some more berries. And again, if you're new here, go back, listen to the other weeks, get started on the challenge. It's all here for you. Until next week, my friends, take care.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.